Hello, welcome, and welcome back to Heretic Tarot. My name is Liz, and I will be guiding you on this journey. So, it's April. These messages really are, kind of whenever you see them, but I do tend to do them at least monthly. So this month we're using the Work Your Light Oracle deck, and then we're using the Wandering Moon Tarot for additional information. We'll get an Oracle card for the overall vibe, and then of course pull 6 tarot cards and see what the vibe is. I have my little bowl here of all of the zodiac, all of the human design profile numbers. I'm just gonna pick one. We have 3-5.
Let's do it.
So let's get an oracle card first. And if you've seen these videos before for the human design profile, I usually have like a blurb, some sort of content that I share with you to give a perspective about your profile. And I usually read it to you. Story time, right? This time, however, I did find, look at that. Okay. We're leaving it there for a second. Because I think that is so funny. So this time I did find an article on the Jovian Archive website, which I believe is like connected to the International School of Human Design. But it's an article written about the profiles, or each profile line, 1 through 6, from the perspective of a 2-5 projector, which I think is pretty cool. So I will link that in the description below. And then, of course, you would want to find the 3 and the 5. And it's just a paragraph long for each line. I mean, of course, there's, a couple paragraphs before that introducing themselves and all of that. So, yeah, definitely check that out. What is this? That is so funny to me. It says, okay, take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. Interesting. We have this figure down here that is in some water. Let's get your tarot cards out. And then, of course, we'll talk about that card, but it gives me a chance to sit here and stare at it for a while and really get connected. Okay. If my hands would like to work. We have the Hanged Man. Absolutely. Taking a breaky poo. The New Moon. Oh my gosh. My hands are just not. We have the Death card. We have the 10 of Wands, 5 of Moons, and the Knight of Moons, or the Knight of Cups. Queen of Swords at the bottom of the deck, Knight of Swords, Queen of Wands, Tower. All right. So we start with this take a break card. Get off of the treadmill. I mean, this has a very stop and smell the roses type of vibe to it. And I know, once we get into those cycles of hustling right? Like it's really hard to allow ourselves to take that break, right? Because like we could be afraid that we're going to lose a momentum. It could be a bit of FOMO mixed in there too. And it would also really depend on your type, right? Like sacral beings, like the generator, manifesting generator, are the only ones that have that continuous access to sacral energy, which is like life force energy, right? It's a motor. All of the other types are meant to be in a state of rest until there's that burst of their, like strategy and authority, right? Like manifestors, like you're in the state of rest until there's something that you want to initiate. Projectors, right? Like you're in the state of quote unquote rest. And it's not like you're just laying around prone, right? Like it's nothing like that. But it's not the everyday hustle and bustle either. But then with projectors, right, it's that recognition or being invited to share your guidance. Generators are waiting to respond to their sacral. Manifesting generators, the same thing, right? And then reflectors have to wait that lunar cycle, and that's like for big decisions. But with all of your openness, it's really like taking enough time to like clear out other people's shit from your aura, right? So there is this energy of like recalibrating, getting recentered, because too, like when we are also in that hustle, get it done, whatever type of energy, it's like, we have those blinders on and we can't really see like peripheral. Like, we have our sights set on one thing that we didn't even see that there were branches that grew out of that thing. And there's other opportunities or, whatever the case may be. So definitely, and I feel like this whole thing, this whole effing reading is confirmation of this. That doesn't necessarily always happen. Like, it's happened at least twice. This is the second time that I can think of that it was so clearly, and especially with the first card, there was somebody else. It might have been the 3-6 or something, but the card was like inner temple or something, and the first card was the Hermit, which is like literally inner temple, like inner being. So, like it just doesn't happen all the time. And when it does, I feel like it's just like double confirmation that this is definitely something that is only going to benefit you too by taking that break and resetting and making sure that you're still heading north, right? Like your North Star, whatever that is. I just started thinking about Moana. Like when she's like on the boat before she meets Maui, and she like has to keep recentering the boat on the like hook that's in the stars or whatever. But also in that movie, that is why this came up. Oh my gosh. But also she like falls asleep or something, right? And kind of gets off course a little bit. And then isn't she like woken up by a storm? But then like that whole thing leads her to the island where Maui's been trapped, right? So again, yes. Oh my gosh, let's all watch that movie today. Oh shoot, I don't have Disney Plus anymore. Anyway, I'm like, let's all watch that movie. If you haven't seen it, what? Come on. Okay. So the Hanged Man talks about delay. It's about suspension. I also love that, there's a crescent moon there. There's a crescent moon there. I love crescent moons. I've been making these bowls, like these nesting bowls. It's a little crescent moon. Okay. Anyway, and I just said that because it's like sitting right there in front of my face. But Again, even, right, like the synchronicity, like between those two. The Hanged Man is like willful suspension. There's a purpose to the delay. There's a purpose to taking the break, and that's to see something from a different perspective. Or even allowing the new perspective to like catch up to you, right? It's not meant to be uncomfortable. I mean, it certainly can be, especially like I was saying, if we've been in the energy of like, hustling, but it's not meant to. And it's meant to help propel you forward. Also, it's paired with the Ten of Wands, and the Ten of Wands talks about burden and being overwhelmed. It's taking on more than you can chew, right? I mean, like your plate is literally overflowing. It could even be like putting out a lot of fires because there's just too much going on, right? I mean, like you have too many irons in the fire, which is causing more fires to be like created, right? I mean, how many other analogies can I like come up with here? But, like in these two hands, there's 5 wands in each hand. And the 5 of wands is about conflict and competition. There's also like a conditioning element to the 5 of wands though too. Like, you're practicing, you're kind of like in the training stage. And also, like with wands are fire, right? So it's our motivation, it's the actions that we're taking. Wands have to do with creativity, our passions, our desires. How are we communicating those things? What actions are we taking towards those things? It's also information, because that's what we pick up along the way, right? Is information and knowledge. And you guys know, because you have that third line on the conscious side, the trial and error, right? Like, how are you going to know what works and what doesn't if you don't try it? That's the wands. So when we get to the 10, first of all, a 10 is a completion. So there is some level of completion, and maybe that's what this Hanged Man and this break is talking about, is that once you allow yourself to take that break, you're going to recognize that there are things on your plate that you can now take off, or you can like delegate out. Because this is like taking all of the lessons that you've learned, all of the experiences that you've tried from the ace to this point, and it's like you're deciding what stays and what goes. It definitely has this like decision factor to it, which I don't generally feel with like the 10 of Wands, but it's coming up that way. So we're rolling with it. You could be working a lot with your hands in some capacity. And then we have the new moon. And the new moon is all about like, when with new moons, we set new intentions. It's about new beginnings. And again, there's this keyhole in their hands. So I wonder if there is something going on with your hands in some capacity. I don't really know, but it's again, right? Like it's coming up. So, and there's a new moon coming up April 19th, I believe. So there could be something to that. There could be some sort of like shift coming along with that. But also it's paired with the 5 of moons, and that's the 5 of cups, which talks about grieving, mourning. It's, kind of a card of loss, but more about like release. There's 6 moons in this card, and it's paired with the 5 of cups. So it's like there's something available to you that can be released. And moons have to do with our emotions. So there could be something emotionally that you've been holding on to, and maybe that is just the idea that you have to hustle in order for something to work. Like you have to struggle in order to feel successful, or in order for something to feel worth it. I think we're all conditioned to believe that, right? And I think, the powers that be, like, those players that are in control of capitalism would love for us to believe that because it keeps us motivated to keep doing stuff that is out of alignment. And it's interesting because, you know, these 5 moons, it kind of looks like they like slipped between this figure's fingers, right? I mean, like literally here, right? But it's almost like I get this feeling that it's a conscious decision to like release. It's like if you have been, you know, holding on so tight to something, and if you open your hand, right, and it's like sand, right? If you like have your fist closed around sand, less of it is able to escape, but as soon as you open your hand, it just starts falling out, right? But it's like this energy of like releasing control. And on the traditional 5 of Cups, there's 3 cups that have been turned over, but there's still 2 cups left. But the person is typically focusing on the 3 cups that have spilled over. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that if you are allowing yourself to move through the energy of grieving and releasing and almost like gratitude, right? Like, you know, thank you for what you have shown me and what you have brought to my attention. But then it's also recognizing that there are still 2 cups to be explored. All is not lost, right? Nothing is ever all lost. And like I was saying, even with 5s, I think, you know, they're transitionary energies. They're nothing to pitch a tent and get stuck in. So there's clearly something that is available to be released here for you. And especially with the Death card. I wasn't even looking that far ahead. I mean, I saw it when it first came out, but I'm usually like so focused on like the one card that I'm talking about until I feel ready to like move on to the next card. And then it just so happens to like beautifully fit in perfectly with what we're talking about. And actually, before I go there, I'm trying to get better at these self plugs, but like I have a completely open heart center, and oh my gosh, it just, I struggle with like, you know, just like I said, self plug, you know, like putting, asking for help and all the things. So, if you haven't done so already, I would love if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment if you haven't already. Even if it's just an emoji. I love emojis, but my energy is focused on growing this channel and this beautiful community. And of course, hello, I cannot do that without you. So it would be great if you have the energy available to help me out with that. Really, I'm just trying to like catch the train of the algorithm on YouTube. So yeah, any help with that, I appreciate it. Thank you. So with the Death card, that's a card of Scorpio. The Hanged Man, I have it all like written down. I can't remember. It might also be water. Yeah, it's water. I just can't think of who. It doesn't matter. So it's interesting. I mean, we do have a lot of like water out here. So and this figure, if you can see it in this card, is in water, or that's what it looks like to me anyway. So there could even be, if you have access to taking baths, or, you know, like a salt bath, even throwing in rose petals, or there's dried rose buds. That would be a good thing to throw in there. You know, it's like self-love. Or, of course, you know, like a pool or a hot tub. Again, if you have access to it, and if you even like being in water. I don't know why that just like came to mind. It could even be, of course, like an energy about like rehydrating. So drink your water. Make sure you're getting enough salts for electrolytes, right? So the Death card talks about something ending in order for something new to begin. And there's that saying that I love. Every time the Death card comes up, I always say this. a new beginning disguises itself as an end. And that is almost exactly what the hell this middle section is. Oh my gosh. Because the new moon, like I was saying, right? It's like setting new intentions, new beginnings, change. And the Five of Cups is releasing something. And the Death card is saying that, right? Like, and like I was saying at the beginning, see how this is all like coming full circle? Um, how sometimes, like we get so stuck in the hustle that we don't recognize that like these branches formed off the path that we were on. Or again, even with the Moana reference, right? How releasing a little bit of that control, I think I mentioned that somewhere, and how that can, allow us to just be guided to where we want to go. And the Death card too is that saying, because I've filled this up with like a million analogies already. Why not add like a couple more? That when one door closes, another opens. However, it's like you have to close that one door in order to even recognize that another one is open. Right? And sometimes it's like, we kind of get stuck in our heads of, like, well, what if that door doesn't open? There's always another open door. Always. And it's interesting that the Death card is looking at the new moon and the Hanged Man. Because clearly, like, there is something in here that is available to be released. And you would probably know what it is because it's probably already come to your mind through this reading, or you feel it in your body. And it's something that maybe you have been denying for a certain period of time, or just kind of like stuffing down because you don't really want to deal with it yet. And, it's like the Death card is just sitting there staring. I mean, the Death card is nothing to be afraid of anyway. Like, it's not physical death, but it's just, again, right? It's the end of a cycle, which can be scary, but it only creates new growth. And even, okay, I'm throwing them out there because they keep coming to mind, right? And it may even just be because like the right thing just needs to land. But those controlled burns that they do in like meadows or whatever, where they are burning off the old dead stuff, and it may look crisp for a while, right? But what that does is it almost like refertilizes the ground, and the seeds and everything that are like still in the ground or are being dropped into the ground by the controlled burn, and things like grow even greener, even better than they did before. Hello, that is the Death card. And look what's coming after the Death card is the Knight of Cups, which is an offer. The Knight of Cups is the knight in shining armor out of the tarot deck. And of course that can be in relationship or love. It doesn't have to be. And this doesn't even necessarily feel like a relationship. It certainly can be, though. If there is a relationship in your life, romantic, platonic, or business, that is no longer serving, then, there is an energy here to release it. But the Knight of Cups is coming in with a new offer. They're coming in with the Ace of Cups, full, and they're offering that to you, like, and again, it could be a love offer, but it's something that is going to make you feel good. It could be in business. It could be an apology. It could be anything else. There's a stability aspect that comes with it. There's a maturity as far as emotions go, not quite to the level of the Queen and King, but it is, like an ascension or an evolution of an emotional, I almost said emotional authority. That's interesting. You may have emotional authority in your chart. but emotional maturity. And all of that, that comes after this period of taking a break, realizing what needs to be released here. There's like 3 cards that are talking about release, all starting with the Hanged Man, which is waiting and seeing things from a different perspective. That is interesting. We have the Queen of Swords. Swords having to do with our minds, our thoughts, truth, honesty. It's also our ego, because that's where we generally hear our ego is in our minds. And our ego is created by, the stories that we attach to experiences. It's the conditioning. And the Queen is very clear in thought, right? This is like being logical and confident too. The Queen is also not going to take any BS. Any BS that comes flying at her is just going to be like cut by this sword. This is the Ace of Swords too. We have the Knight of Swords, who takes action on a new idea. This is that new perspective that comes in with the Hanged Man. This is the clarity. This is the action on this like new idea, new perspective, new inspiration even. And then we have the Queen of Wands. 2 queens. Queens are when we embody the energy of the suit ourselves. So this is, being clear in your thought, being confident in your ideas. The Queen of Wands, again, with wands, action, communication, it's information too. And again, there's this confidence element that comes with it. It's like, what actions you want to take. What you want to do next. The things that light you up. The things that you're passionate about. And all of that becomes clear because you took this breaky poo. We have the Tower card, which is perfect because this is like going to shake things up. Not in a bad way though. This does not feel like it's a bad thing. The Wanderer and then the full moon. Are you kidding me? The Wanderer, I want to read actually from the book on the Wanderer because I just want to convey the right, Here we go. It says the first of 3 cards unique to this deck, which is this card, the new moon, and the full moon, which we all have out here now. This card represents the I am presence, the multidimensional part of our consciousness. It is our past, present, future self combining to make up the sum of you as a spiritual being in your physical body. It is your connection to source energy and the ability to manifest. This card is asking you to connect with your I am presence, to interact with others from a place of love, to be mindful and appreciate the moments you find yourself in. It's a reminder of the importance of being present in everyday life. And it says remaining grounded, being present, appreciating consciousness, remaining in your heart space, integration of the self. And it comes after the effing Tower card. I told you, right? The Tower is not a bad thing. And then we have the full moon card, which is, the full moon is coming up May 5th. And actually the new moon that is going to be on the 19th is a solar eclipse, which again is even just like amplifying the energy of a new beginning. The full moon is going to be a lunar eclipse, which talks about change, which is coming after this Tower card. Come on, guys. This is awesome. This is awesome. And again, right, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, laying around prone. It can be, maybe you need some sleep. Maybe you need a little bit of rest. Maybe you need a little bit of different distraction. Like maybe there's a book you've wanted to read or a show that you've wanted to watch. but it's like literally allowing yourself permission to effing chill. This is beautiful. I am here for it. And I'm also going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.